Well, I'd like to bring you up on the news that is happening here in the city of Chicago and around the world. Thank you so much for joining us. Here are the headlines. Chicago man attempting to walk around the world drowned off the coast of New York. Welcome wagon runs over newcomer. Apathy club disbands due to lack of interest. Plastic surgeon melts. After I was born, the pastor and his wife came over to the house, and according to my mother, before she left, I was a baby in the crib, she kissed me. And she said in German, "He will be the preacher." I've often wondered, was that just an offhand remark? Perhaps it was, or was it something prophetic? The reason that I wrote my autobiography is to show people how God guided me, and to give God glory for the way in which He was connecting dots in my life to take me from a farm in Canada and to be able to have the privilege eventually to be the pastor of Moody Church for 36 years. From my heart to yours, live for the next world. I marvel at how decisions that I made that I thought were very ordinary were part of this tapestry that God was weaving so that I would have the privilege of being able to preach. Of course, I gravitated toward the greatest of the preachers.
You simply get up out of your seats and I want you to come.
When it comes to the call, and it comes in many different ways and in different ages, I believe that a true call, first of all, has that inner conviction. Perhaps it's like the Apostle Paul, "Woe is me if I preach not the gospel." But that's only a part of it. You need the qualifications of ministry. I'm talking now about character. And of course, in the Bible, you have the list of qualifications to be an elder, to be a leader. And so you have to meet those. You know, Paul says, "Stir up the gift that is in you that came to you as a result of the laying on of my hands." So there is a setting apart, I believe, that God has for those who are called to the ministry. I went through some rough times in the ministry. All pastors do. If you don't have that sense of calling, I am here by the grace of God. I am anointed by God. This is my calling. When things get very difficult, you're going to be tempted to leave the ministry. Sometimes what sustains us is that deep, settled confidence. We are where God has planted us, and here we are, and we depend on God to validate our ministries. I could never have done the ministry if I didn't have my wife, Rebecca. Now, Rebecca is a very strong woman. She's a woman who has her own opinions, and I'm grateful for that. Oftentimes, God leads me through her. I always say sometimes when I hear the voice of God, it sounds an awful lot like Rebecca. You know, in our home, as I look back, I realized that I oftentimes so depended on Rebecca to raise the kids. I knew that everything would be taken care of very, very well. But what happened is the kids began to see me as someone out there rather than someone who was their dad. And I say to the pastors out there, listen to your children, have time for them. Your children need you. Don't look to the church for affirmation. Look to the Lord and recognize that your most important affirmation is to your children. Pastors need friends. Friends in ministry. I think it's very important for a pastor to know that his life also is up for evaluation by members of the board and by other pastors who know him best. But I've also had some friends outside of ministry.
And that certainly is important.
There are times when you are going to need those kinds of friends to whom you can be honest. They can hear you out. They can listen to you. They can pray with you. They are not a threat to your ministry, and you can bare your soul to them, and they'll stand with you through thick and thin. God never intended that the ministry be a lone kind of vocation. Pastor, when you prepare a message, look into your own heart and see what is there, and you're going to be a better preacher. I always say that my theory of preaching can be easily stated. I aim for the transformation of life, not just the transformation of information, but the transformation of life. And I believe that God has given to me and to you the ability that, if we reflect on it, to better understand human nature and human need in such a way that we will be able to connect the Word of God on one hand with the needs of our congregation on the other, and those two will meet, and there will be eternal transformation. That's what we're after. I don't think there's anything I could do that would be better than that.